Hello, this will be the last topic of conversation, and this is a catastrophic event focusing on grief. Background. For myself, I've been an athletic trainer for 13, almost 14 years now. I work on various committees to support fellow athletic trainers. I too have been struck by tragedy. I've had a student athlete die, had colleagues, friends, and family as well. And we all will go through those processes in our life in various roles. AT Cares is a new initiative that's been brought forth by athletic trainers in the NATA. It's a very new initiative, and they hope to have it fully operational this coming year. But the goal is to provide pre-event education to individuals out there so they understand the processes of grief and events that can occur. And one of the key aspects is providing training at the state and district levels to really touch as many athletic trainers as they can. And one of the key things that we're looking at, though, is supporting after the event, because that is sometimes the event happens, yep, there's help there, but it's that after event coverage that tends to be forgotten and it's sometimes more important. In my career, I was first involved with this on the Ohio Emergency Response Team. I was a committee that was established, and it was primarily the focus point of this was with EMS personnel that were also athletic trainers. Perry Dennehy is a very active member in the Great Lakes Athletic Trainers Association District. He's done some great work and has helped the NATA Cares initiative go on. And I did some work with him early in my career, and it's really stuck with me. So as I said, I was a committee member with this group. It was a crisis management team. So when an event occurred in the state, depending on what part of the state you were in, you sort of help the helpers is sort of the phrase. So we contacted individuals that had events. And idea is to go have coffee with them and offer help. Realistically, looking at helping the helpers. Because a lot of times, these are the individuals that help you. They go and help the athletes. They go and help the others. But a lot of times, they need help as well. So the idea is to go talk to these individuals. Let them be a sounding board towards you. And not necessarily providing answers, but providing support and giving them avenues to get help if they needed help beyond what you can do as being a colleague. So it was an interesting time. I remember the first time I actively participated with this team. I was working in Cincinnati, Ohio at the time, and an athletic trainer in the northeast side of town had an athlete that had a cardiac event. The athlete eventually did make it through, and they had a good recovery. But it was a scary time for these individuals, and the athletic trainer was the first one on the scene, hooked up the AED, moved forward with treatment of the individuals. And the emergency action plan worked brilliantly, and everyone gave him accolades and whatnot. But about a week later, I called him up and said, hey, want to have a cup of coffee in regards to this? And he graciously did. And we had a cup of coffee about for once a week for a month. And I provided him pamphlets because I did some research on where he worked, what organizations he had, what support system they already had in place, and just provided a link to him to help him find help that he needed. I didn't offer anything. I didn't have any skill set to provide great resources to help him out besides just being a colleague that at least knew where he could go to get help. So each time I left a business card with my name and the business card with his company's management team, crisis management team, and eventually talked with them and worked through that process. Because losing an athlete is one of the scariest things an athletic trainer fears. It's traumatic for all involved, whether you are the first responder on the scene or other things. Could be problematic for the rescuer, could be problematic for everyone else. And the community involved, all those things. So, and then this, we're all going to be adults, we're all going through things, and having a colleague die, and every story is unique with this. So you got to keep that in mind, that every story is unique, every outcome is different. So you can have a colleague die of cancer where it's a planned, we know it's going to happen, to a traffic accident, so that one day you're working with someone and the next minute they're not. All these are processes that some individuals were not really prepared for to handle this, but the AT Cares initiatives would help with this if this happened to you. Some of the new events that they're starting to work with AT Cares is the hurricanes that have hit the southeastern United States this year, and some other processes, because it's just not about the death of an athlete, but other traumatic events that goes on, and you go through that process, and it does affect you, and you have to be able to move forward with that. And we'll move on to this role. Every role of the grief process is a little unique. So I'll pen this a circle of grief. This is common in the hospice technique, but you see that circle in the middle, that's you. Then the next part of that circle is your spouse, then a family, close friends, colleagues, friends that you're close with, neighbors, community, outsiders. It drastically grows on the outside. And through my grief process, this is one of the highlights that I actually had to show to my colleagues and my family to understand what goes on. And we'll show you this. This is a little bit more professional looking model here. But what I want you to get out of this is comfort in, dump out. So if there's something affected in this significance, this event, dump out. So you could be, this could be your athlete. You got to remember that the parents are here. If you're dealing with a college athlete, that could be the spouse and then the parents here. But parents, siblings, immediate family, and you could be that close friend working with them on a daily basis. So as it moves on, and colleagues, neighbors, as you look out, so it's comfort in and dump out. And sometimes just having that cup of coffee may be beneficial as other things, but it's one of those processes. So remember, you got to provide help towards the center. And the outside, you dump outwards with the grief process. If you get nothing out of my talk today, if you can highlight that process, do so. Help towards the center, dump outwards. You may be the person who always helps. However, sometimes it just is not going to be your role sometimes. So you got to help the helper. Help the helpers. Everyone is unique. Everyone's grief process is going to be different. So you got to keep that in mind. Counseling services are available. And if you're a stubborn male like myself, you're less likely to reach out for that. But it is necessary, and it's out there and available. Time. I'm not going to tell you time heals all wounds. Time will allow you to process so you can move forward in life and enjoy those small victories. And you got to focus on the living. Focus on what's going on next, and focus on living your life. And that may take time. It may be difficult to process. There is no specific treatment plan because everyone is unique. So I'm going to tell you some of the stories with me. So, my case, we'll back up here. We'll go all the way back through our process here. Circle of grief. was an athletic trainer for a hospital, and I started the sports medicine outreach program. I became friends with many individuals, and I knew a lot of people that worked in a variety of sports and a variety of schools. Throughout my processes, I developed close ties to a variety of individuals. So as you move forward, keep that in mind. So I was actually at a football game in Minneapolis, covering a state tournament football game. One of my high schools that I commonly work with, and I wasn't with that day because it was a different high school, and we sort of bridged off of that. So I knew this team well, and they're having a fundraiser, and I gave them money for their fundraiser. I was intending to be at their event, but I was with the other team at a state championship. At this event, this student athlete who was a senior had a scholarship offer to wrestle at a Division I school. He was simply driving home. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't doing anything else. He was simply driving home, hit a patch of ice, and his car rolled into a ditch, which led that it slid down from that ditch into a area that had water in it, sort of a swamp. His teammate was following behind him about a half mile to a mile back, saw something weird, pulled off, and realized that it was his teammate in the water. He pulled him out, called 911. Another person called 911. Unfortunately, at that time, the water temperature was near freezing. It was northern Minnesota in November, so it was cold and bad, and it ended up where this individual was in the hospital on life support. So with this circle of grief, you look at that center, it's not that individual. It's not who I deal with. This is his parents around here and his family. So as I am a sort of that neighbor or colleague setting, I had to go tell my colleague who worked directly with this team now, as I just hired her. This is her high school that she's going to be at. She's 23 years old, full of life. I had to go call and tell her because I knew about what happened before she did. And I tell her that one of her athletes is on life support. I got back from the state tournament game. I visited this individual's family as I was providing support. I could not grieve towards him, but I could reverse that role because it's me. I could talk to my spouse about this, but I could not vent towards anyone to his close friends, his family about this. I had to look outward from this circle and to provide community support. So it was hard because eventually he succumbed to those injuries a few weeks later. And knowing the medical background from the test and hanging out there at the hospital, I knew the prognosis was grim. Everyone had hope that things would turn around, but it didn't turn out that way. So all I could do was hold his dad's hand, his mom's hand, hug his brothers, hug his friends, and provide support because they needed someone outside that circle to vent to and not get any more grief or anything like that. And it worked out pretty well because it was a process, and it was a very hard process for this individual. And it was a very hard process for this family. And they're still grieving. In my own personal case, 3 years ago, I lost my son. It was sort of one of those events that you never see coming. You never thought it would happen to you. But my infant son, I never got to take him home. He was born on September 3rd and died on September 28th. And we enjoyed those 25 days that we could. Because he was transferred from one hospital to the next to a more advanced critical care unit a week later. And it was scary. It was traumatic. And I think about it every day. Because this is the individual that I helped bring into this world, and I miss him every moment of every single day. And it's 3 years later, and I'm talking about it right now, and it feels real. And that is expected with any type of loss, any type of traumatic event like that. And I've always been the one that sort of helped the helpers, helped the people who are grieving, helped those individuals. I was that family support mechanism. And it was very hard to go to my parents and say, I can't help you with this grief process. I know you're affected, but I can't help you. It was hard to tell that to my brothers, who said they would rely on me to provide comfort and wisdom in times of tragedy. I couldn't do this because they were outside, even though they would dump towards me, and I couldn't help them because this event was my event. This is my cross to bear. And it was a traumatic event that sort of shaped me for this grief process and makes me feel comfortable talking to you about this, because it took time to really move forward with this. And it was a community event, because at this time I was living in a small town, and I was blessed to live in a small town at this time, because everyone that I could turn to supported me. And it was a unique cycle, because that inner circle right there, from immediate close friends and in, I was usually the person that provided support, and they were grieving too with me, and they were dumping towards me, and I had to step back. I had to really show them what's going on, and I had to actually sit down with my father and show him this. I said, this is where you got to go. And I had to tell him, you need to turn to our pastor in this time. You need to turn to your brothers, because I can't help you. Even though I've been the one that's been helping you through grief and family issues and other stuff throughout my adult life, I can't help you. And that's one of the key aspects that you really should look at that. So as you look at that, everyone's story is unique. We'll move forward here. There was a process, and I had to dump outwards. I couldn't be out of those, so it just wasn't my role, because everyone is unique. In my case, I assisted my wife to get counseling. I work for the medical organization there. I pulled strings to get her into the counseling services that she needed, and I talked to individuals as well as the outside support services. But I had to talk. I had to say what was necessary in time. But one of the key aspects with this, athletic trainers are notoriously bad about time. We feel vested in our craft. We feel as though we are the team. We're part of that team. We have to be there with the team. At this point in time, I will encourage each and every one of you that deals with a catastrophic event, step away and get yourself right. Because if you can't handle being that support structure, you can't do it. If it's a close-knit event, step away. Find the help you need. Vent out. Vent towards a colleague, a coworker, your spouse, outside that circle. But time will help, because you will develop the processes to handle it. It won't feel better. It won't feel great, because you hear the adage, time heals all wounds. I'll tell you this, that's BS. Time allows you to figure out how to process it, because each day you can enjoy those small victories and focus on the living and moving forward in life. And once again, there's no specific treatment plan. So in my case, here's what I did. To put this energy towards something good, my wife and I started a charity in conjunction with the Dakota Medical Foundation. So it's called Benton's Hope. We provide resources to families that have critically ill children who unfortunately go through a process similar to ours. So we provide some educational resources to the staffs that work with these children, provide them the resources that they need, and also provide some comfort kits to the parents, because there's nothing more shocking if you're expecting to bring home a child from the hospital not to have anything in your hands as you leave. So that's sort of what we've done. We've channeled that energy. In terms of my athlete that died who died in the hospital after a car accident, they created the Beast Mode Challenge. It's an event that occurs each July in the small town of Frazee, Minnesota. And they do things in an event that he liked to do in his training methods. So it is sort of a modified Spartan type race, different skill sets. The community comes out, and each year it gets bigger and bigger, and the funds raised for that go to support the team that he loved, the wrestling team, and also a scholarship. So it's gotten fairly decent size in a relatively short period of time, and it provides comfort to the families because we remember those who have passed. We provide that acknowledgement on the struggle moving forward, because it does matter. So, as you've heard these stories, I want you to reflect on them. I want you to read the other stories that are posted on in this journal, in this module here. I want you to reflect on what you can do in the grief process and catastrophic event. Just reflect. I'm not looking for a manuscript. I'm looking for a reflection of what transpired. Maybe you have a story to tell, and as we move forward. So I look forward to this, and I hope you enjoy your week. Thank you.